Hi, I'm Dr. Colli, I'm high. Yeah, guys, welcome back to my channel. As we are more and more approaching the American and Canadian market, I like to share some very interesting information with you that I found out whilst I was developing this vapor bomb. And it's about the amount of resin on wheat. This is only interesting for wheat because, yeah, the variety of in hash is not so big, so it's mostly the herb, the flower, which shows a huge difference in amount of resin. Now, that's what I want to tell about my experience. First of all, I want to show you something. If you have a fresh ball and you have a fresh bud, I very often see that people grind it before putting it into the bowl. This is actually, let's say, if you have enough, it doesn't matter. Don't care about what I say now. But if it's expensive and if it's rare and if you have a need, like medical need, and you have to have it, then you can do with a very, very few amount if you do it right. Look, if you grind it, it's a lot of crumbles, which are small, so all over the whole stuff in here has a big surface, which is exposed to the hot air stream. That means your first hit is going to be fat and rich and tasty, but when you exhale, you waste a lot because you blow it just in the air. Same like oxygen, our lungs take a certain percentage of what we inhale, the rest goes back out with the CO2. So if you inhale much more, your percentage will be much more, that's right. So your taste will be rich, but again, you're wasting while exhaling stuff that you could use. So, what I regularly do, if the wheat is the right wheat, I come to this later. I take this bud and I just break it in a few crumbs. I just make a few big crumbs, and that I put into the head. Now, there is a certain surface, but not all the resin is exposed to the hot air stream. So now we get a pretty rich, tasty hit, but we don't waste too much. And then, after puffing 2-3 times, and it's nice dry, I take it out and I start crumbling it a bit. Then I put it back. We have a fresh surface again. That's how you can use it and saving as much as possible. Because as long as it's illegal, the price will always be ridiculous. You see, if you exhale, you already inhaled much more than necessary. Ronja. You do 2 or 3, and you just take it out. You can do it back into the bowl and crumble it a bit. I wouldn't even do too much. And back. I'm bad with this camera because it's on the side. Back into the and fresh hit again. So now we come to the point what I actually found out like 15 years ago. When I started making vaporizers, I noticed there is a few big differences. One of the differences is more I found out in theory because I didn't feel it that way, is in the vaporizer you don't burn the oxygen that is in the air. So if you inhale from a vaporizer, you inhale oxygen, which has different effects. One of it is you don't get fuzzy. If you smoke, doesn't matter if you smoke with or without tobacco, if you smoke, there is a reduction of oxygen in your brain, which makes you feel, ooh, I got a kick. Ooh. But it's not from the weed, it's from less oxygen. You won't have that when you hit a vaporizer. It's always clear and awake. And one point which is very important is in a vaporizer air stream, the THC connects with the oxygen. So when it is coming down in your lung, you have already THC oxygen, and it is much better to take for your body than the pure THC in the vapor. So there are different differences between smoking and vaping. And another very interesting point is the amount of resin. And I can tell you the difference is huge. So for those of you who already follow my videos a little bit longer, maybe it is in German, I don't know how good your German is. I made a video some years ago where I showed with my homegrown stuff how good it can be and how bad coffee shop stuff can be. Yeah, just to give you some numbers ahead. I developed a little test system. I take 1/10 of a gram of a certain pot and do 3-second hits. So I don't crumble it too much. I put it in the hat and I take always exact. I hit it for 3 seconds. And then I count the hits that I get out of it when still some visible vapor is coming out. So, and from 1/10 of a gram, just to give you a picture of the differences with Swazi Safari from the coffee shop Nescafé in Amsterdam, the 1/10 of a gram gave 3 hits. 3. Yeah, 3. It was really ridiculous. And my best shot was 26. So if you buy or grow the right weed, you can really last a long time with 1 gram of it. Unfortunately, which is an experience of mine, I cannot make it really as a statement in general, but unfortunately all the lamp stuff everything, the best grower I know, the lamb stuff is always worse. Sun wheat always contains more, resin, I don't know, or the resin is more concentrated, like the taste in your own garden tomatoes is much more than the taste of a big glasshouse tomato. I cannot explain this technically, but I can assure you I had lots of different wheat, even also from medical suppliers, very famous medical suppliers. A friend of mine brought me stuff and he said, this is what I get from the doctor, and it was I have my numbers, you know. I always relate to 1/10 of a gram and 3-second hits. So, and if this medical stuff was 15 hits on 1/10 of a gram, which is average, but not very good. And for a medical grower, I expect much more. So, and now I found out that if you take a microscope and you look at this wonderful glittering sugar powdered like buds from the coffee shops, you look at them and they are white, they are sticky, you're convinced you have the stuff in your hand. And I can assure you I had very how do you say, boring looking German grass, what they call Deutsche Hecke. Yeah? People look at it and they wouldn't dare to smoke it. And there was more resin on it to extract with the vaporizer than the best coffee shop weed I had. So by the look, you don't believe that. But get your stuff and try it in a good vaporizer where you can do what I did in the beginning. Don't crumble it first. Take a nice hit and then start crumbling. And count 2, 3. And then count how much you get out. I still challenge everyone to bring me stuff that gives more than 25. And till today there was nobody. And I really have nice stuff, you know, it's not some ordinary unnamed shit. What is this? Right now I have Bruce Banner and I have Headband. And I tried really, doesn't matter if it's cheese, if it's diesel, if it's whatever. Nobody, especially not from indoor, could ever beat 25. And now I come to automatics, which are even worse. I wouldn't give a half a liter of piss to an automatic because it's wasted in my eyes. Sounds rude, but I just want to show how you know, automatic doesn't give you 5 hits on or 6. I one time, I have to admit, one time there were guys in Spain who also used my feeding system. They got a Moby Dick automatics feminized plant, which was 18. But this was exceptional much for automatics. The rest of all the automatics, Mazar or whatever, Northern Light, whatever automatics I tried, they are not worth to grow in my eyes. I'd rather take a regular plant from Moby Dick or Northern Light, yeah, and cover it after 12 hours light when they are 4 weeks old. And then I get small plants, they flower and they have more THC and more resin in the same time like an automatic. And the only difference is you have to cover them, so they flower. It's what the automatic does genetically, but then you genetically have also not much resin. Because the original breed from Kazakhstan or wherever they get these genetic, they don't make any resin at all, they just make some seeds. So don't waste your time on automatics. It's my motto. Yeah, so far so good. Take a hit. You see, this is wasted if you can afford it. Huh? If I can afford it, I also make half a gram in the head and I give it as much as I can, no matter how wasted it is. But for those who don't want to waste, who can only grow a small amount or whatever, if you use the right technique by crumbling it up more and more whilst you're taking your hits, you also avoid to make a hot spot. Of course, the distance between the hot and the weed is not so far, so I made it round, gets circulating, but still if you leave it on and you take 10 hits, you have a brown spot in the middle, and therefore it's better to shake it and shake it. This is the Bruce Banner, and the Bruce Banner that I have right now is 15, which is average for regular weed. What I didn't really found out till now is how I can really box it up. For me personal, my fooding system, I find it perfect because 25, again, nobody can top 25, did top 25 till now. I'm sure there's weed that goes to 30 or whatever. I just did not have it or ever had it. That's what I say. So my opinion, I use stinging nettle water, stinging nettle gear during the growing period, as well as 10% in the water of my urine. Urine is one of the best fooding you can have, but it's not very good to try it indoor. Same like fire nettle, stinging nettle. You don't use this stuff indoor, it stinks. And for the flour I use wood ashes and bird manure liquidized. So I just take chicken shit or pigeon shit and put it in a barrel, fill it up with water and steer it around sometime and wait for 6 weeks. And during the flowering period I only use this to feed them. Yeah, and I have very, very satisfying results. And The resin amount is quite good. So I believe it's because of that. As I never ever really started with artificial or with biological feeding nutrients from the shops, never. I cannot tell you which kind of fooding combination from the shops you need to get your resin amount very high. But I'm sure there's a lot of you who already know that. So, that's the information I wanted to share today. Become a quite long video. And I hope I did not forget anything. So if you have questions in the comments, you can ask me anything. And stay high.